Senior columnist Rick Newman with us here on where this moves next. So, Rick, what sort of options are there now?
Yeah, Congress has a lot of authority to get involved in matters like this, and that's because railroads are considered essential infrastructure, and railroad workers are considered essential workers, if you will. So there's law on the books that gives Congress authority. They can step in, they can halt a strike, they can settle a strike, and they can do some other things. Now, of course, that means the votes would have to be there to do that. So we're talking that this would be happening in the, assuming we're talking about the deadlines Dana just outlined, early December. We're talking about the lame duck Congress. It's still the Congress where Democrats control both the Senate and the House. So if Democrats agreed, then they could get something done by passing legislation. And it's also very possible that on this issue there could be bipartisanship. Republicans are more likely to vote to end a strike perhaps than Democrats are. So if this really does materialize into something that is a threat to the whole U.S. economy, sure, Congress could do something. I'm going to bet, however, that there is some kind of solution ahead of that time.
Is there anything, Rick, that Joe Biden, the president, has said, or perhaps Labor Secretary Marty Walsh has said in the past that gives you a hint to how he might handle this in the future?
Well, Marty Walsh, going back a couple of months, was involved in trying to reach a deal, and it looked like they had a deal for a while. And it is obviously in Biden's interest to have his administration making a deal like this. I mean, Biden is a very pro-union Democrat and a pro-union president. So he definitely wants it to look as if he can get in there and he can resolve this, and he can resolve it on behalf of the union members. I mean, that would actually be good for him politically, and that might still happen. I mean, the president doesn't have the authority legally to order these people back to work, but he does have the weight of the presidency and everything that comes with it. So, he could be talking to both sides and senior leaders at the railroads and urging them to make a deal. So there are a lot of reasons to get this done. And I think Biden also is very relieved that this is happening after the midterm elections, and it's not one more factor he had to consider prior to the midterms.
And Rick, we know that the Democrats' handling of the economy ended up being something of a sore point. And according to the Association of American Railroads, the strike could cost the U.S. economy up to $2 billion for every day that workers aren't on the job. How bad would this be in terms of the optics for how Biden is handling the economy from this point if they don't get this under control?
Well, just as supply chains are getting back to normal, this would be a huge problem. And Biden clearly does not want that to happen. I mean, supply chain problems have been part of the cause for inflation, and of course, that is Biden's biggest economic problem and arguably his biggest domestic problem. So, Biden for sure could start to jawbone the railroads here if it comes down to the wire. He could come out and start giving the railroad bosses a little bit of a hard time and raise the pressure on them. I would not be at all surprised if Biden did at some point appear to take the union side on this, and that could be powerful because no business really wants the president to be trashing them. But we'll see if we get a deal before it comes to that.
Should be interesting, in particular given the timing. Senior columnist Rick Newman, thank you, sir.